Unsafe sleep practices, including co-sleeping, continue to be the leading cause of preventable infant deaths in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. And nationally, more infants die in adult beds than anywhere else from unsafe sleeping practices. Jane Murphy, Executive Director of Healthy Start Coalition of Hillsborough County, is here today to demonstrate the safest way for our babies to sleep and what not to do. Let's start with, what should parents and caretakers know about the dangers of unsafe sleep?
Well, when a baby sleeps in with a parent, or even just one, or even on a sofa, there is a danger that the mom or dad may fall asleep and the baby may suffocate because they don't have the head control.
Yes.
So a baby that sleeps in the bed with family members is 40% likely to die than a baby that's in their own crib. So what we're trying to let the message out is that it's the ABCs. Babies need to be alone, on their back, in a crib.
Yes. I think that's hard for a lot of moms. They're torn between wanting to have that snuggle time and that bonding time, and then wanting them to be safe. And sometimes mom thinks, oh, well, they'll be fine, they'll be safer in my arms. But there are even other dangers, would you say, in the bed besides that?
One of the things is loose, the big comforters that we all love, and the big pillows and all of that. That, especially for a baby less than 6 months old, they can't move their head up to be able to change, and so there's problems with that. Sometimes you put a baby on a soft pillow and then you put them in the bed, and that isn't safe for the baby.
Right. What would you say about the bonding? Sorry, Michael, before we move on, what would you say to moms at home who say, I want to bond with my baby, I love that time?
Well, bonding is important, and it's a lifelong event. And mom needs to sleep well. And if the baby's sleeping with her and she's worried about, am I being safe with the baby, the safest way? And if the baby's in the same room, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And that's probably even better because you know the baby's right there.
Yeah.
And you can be responsive if the baby wakes up and cries and pick the baby up.
That's true.
But it's important to let the baby be alone in the crib.
And we say alone in the crib, so obviously our example of what we have today is not what you want to do, especially with infant babies.
Right.
Let's kind of give our viewers a visual of what not to do.
This is what not to do. So having the baby blanket and having all those cute toys, they're great for the baby to have, but not in the bed when they're sleeping.
Yes.
And if you want to put them on a mat and play with them, that's great. But having that would be unsafe. So I would, and especially any pillows and big bedding and soft cushioning, those are things that are unsafe for the baby. So.
So we want to take all
this out.
Yes.
And back is always best, right?
Always on the back. The other thing that is protective is a pacifier. So pacifiers are good things.
Yes, that helps reduce the risk of SIDS, right?
Yes, it does. And so does having the baby sleep on their back. When we changed from baby sleeping on their stomach to sleeping on their back, we were able to reduce SIDS by 50%.
Wow.
So that's important, and it's important for grandparents to know too, because grandparents may have said, well, all my kids slept on their stomach and they were fine, but it's like car seats. A lot of, way back when we didn't have car seats either, and now we do, and we know better, so we want to continue to do that.
The back thing really rings true to me because my son, I noticed that he was sleeping better when he was on his stomach, and I knew about the risks and all of that, but we waited until he was able to lift his neck up really well to let him sleep sometimes on his stomach. And I know that's still, being risky right there, and I will go out and say it, I'm not ashamed of what I've done and everything, and it worked for our family, but it is risky, and you have to be so careful. Can we talk about the age of when the switch can happen, or when
usually
it's okay
past
to do
6 months old? But if you teach the baby to sleep on their back, they will sleep on their back, and they do sleep deeper on their stomach. But you don't want them to sleep too deep.
Right, and you should still take precaution. My daughter is 10 months, and we were just taking a nap. And I fell asleep. In the middle of the day, I fell asleep.
It happens.
And mom comes home, and she's trying to crawl out of the bed.
Yes, we talked
and it's
about
like,
that
man, I just fell asleep for a quick second, and she was trying to crawl. So you need to take precaution. Even when they're 1 year old, you definitely need to follow safety measures first to make sure that your baby is safe.
I think people forget how exhausted new parents are.
Yes.
So they may fall asleep and fall asleep really hard, and the baby isn't safe because they're so exhausted, they're sleeping really hard.
You can't be too careful. Before we go, there are a lot of other products out there on the market with co-sleeping, and I forget, there's another name that people are using a lot right now besides co-sleeping, but it's like
the family bed.
Family, yeah. It's either next to you or that kind of creates barriers and things like that. Are you okay with those, or do you think that's still a no?
I think it's still a no. And what I do is I recommend folks look at the American Academy of Pediatrics, and if the American Academy of Pediatrics says it's something that's okay to do, then I'll support whatever they say.
Right.
But there's so many things that we can't change about infant mortality and reducing infant deaths. This is the simple way to make a difference and to provide your child's safety. So especially if you are, you're traveling over the summer, you're at a holiday, make sure that you find a safe place.
Yes.
Porta cribs are reasonable, and you can use them wherever you go.
Not dock and top, but the playpen,
pack and play.
Pack and play is definitely something that you need to invest in.
A lot of hotels have those.
Yeah, you can travel with you and take it as you want. So thank you so much for the knowledge that you bestowed upon our viewers today. For more information on safe sleep, visit preventneedlessdeath.com.